First thing you got to do once you get everything out, you got to get your shepherd's hook, your clip. What you're doing here, see this tang back here? That's coming off. Common problem on the AK-47 is you get trigger slap whenever rounds unloaded, done. Whenever you fire the gun, the bolt going over hammer, sear, trigger, whatever, your parts inside, make a long story short, it cycling back and forth causes that trigger to kick back, and it hurts your finger. If you've never fired an AK that does that, you're missing out. Believe me. And this one does it. So we're going to make the adjustments to it that are necessary. Start by, of course, removing your dust cover. Your standard takedown, and we'll remove our bolt, op rod. Now, down in here, there are some parts that we're going to modify. Mainly, we're going to be modifying our disconnector. I'll get these out of here, and I'll show you what we're going to do in order to make the changes. First thing you got to do once you get everything out, you got to get your shepherd's hook, your clip out of there. That is that little part there. You'll see it up underneath there. In order to do that, you really need to get your hammer spring. Get it folded up, and once you have it up, you can very easily fit it behind the hammer, just like that. Just loop them over the two ears of the hammer, and that'll get that spring out of the way. Now what you're trying to do here, you got to get that piece of wire out of there, because it rides in that groove underneath that pin and the trigger spring there. It loops around. So there's a number of ways to go about doing it. A lot of times you can press down here and just slide it underneath. I don't know if we're going to have that luxury here. We'll see. Nope, I don't believe we will. So I'm going to go through the magazine well. I'm not sure if you guys can see here. I'm going up through the magazine well, and I'm going to try and get the hook of this scribe onto the shepherd's hook as it goes around the hammer pin. I got it, and there I pulled it. There we go. Pulling it out of there, and there that thing is. I'm gonna say thing because I hate them. I absolutely hate this. This is one part on a firearm I hate. It goes in like that, and of course I've got the gun tilted towards us, but now those pins will come out of there. So what we'll do, see if I can get this light hung on here, get a little bit more light in there, and push this pin on up. That's our pin. I got so many things going on at once, I've just got a mess here. There's our disconnector. Whoa, let's drop everything. Alright. Disconnector. We have spring for it. And our trigger. This is a single hook trigger. A double hook has the same thing over here. There's our parts that we're dealing with. I want to go ahead and show you. See right there where that metal has been damaged there? That has been caused from this. And that's all part of what we're going to be removing. What's happening is as that bolt comes along, goes in the backwards position, and it hits everything, because that's right there, it's causing that trigger to be jabbed into the finger. And I don't know all the variants and everything. Some do, some don't. I think some people are able to tell just by knowing what parts you have in your gun or what gun it is. Different ones are prone to doing it, but either way, I know that some do, some don't. And you fix it by removing this tang, and if you have to, grinding some on the trigger. What we're going to be doing here, you see this tang back here? That's coming off there. Tang behind the hook, that is coming off. And this is hardened stuff, so you got to be careful. Now the other thing you got to watch for, if and when you do this, see the hole that your spring goes in? You got to be careful not to thin wall that and make it where it loses its rigidity. Something I want to show you here on this, it's very important if you do this and you use an actual grinder that you do not grind too much quickly, or too quick, because on these parts they're hardened parts, and if you get it too hot, it will really mess with the hardening on it. And so I don't know if you can see that right now it is just nice and looks like fresh metal. I'm going to get it a little bit too hot and you'll see the coloration in it. There's one line of coloration in it there. See that one line there? You'll see it'll turn almost a straw brown color, and then it can go all the way to like a blue and iridescent coloring. But either way, you don't want any of that coloration to come into it, because that means that you're losing your temper. I did that just that much. It's only that one area. I'm about to grind that away, but I just wanted to show you that. Now with that the way that it is, just wanted to see how hard it felt, and it's pretty hard. Alright, now we know we've got it down a good bit. I don't want to use the right angle grinder to really do too much more, because it can just remove metal so fast. I don't want to take the chance of taking too much off of there. So what I'll do now is move to an air tool, a right angle air tool. Be right. Here's what we're going to use. Now that that is done, we'll be able to throw a little bluing on it, just to keep it from rusting up too much. And of course the bluing will cause it to rust, but whenever I say I'm going to blue something, I always will hit it with a AK-47. It's just kind of assumed and understood, so let me clarify that bluing will not keep something from rusting. So just so we're clear. A little Formula 4440 I'm going to use to blacken this up. They say it's instant gun blue, buddy, it is. You can see it work right before your eyes. It's not necessarily the most durable, but it'll blacken it up. Let that have a little bit of time to work here. Come back and wipe it off, and then I'll hit it with some K-Foss. Keep it from rusting on us, and we'll be ready to put it back together. What else I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and take the Dremel and clean this up just a little bit, just to get rid of the burrs of it. And there, I cleaned it up a little bit. And again, on this, same as the other, that little round circle there, that's actually an indention that the spring sits in. So you got to be careful not to go too far into that. Alright, now you got your trigger components here. That's how they go. Run your trigger straight down there. Get your spring. Run it in there. And this will all fit straight down in there. Notice I've got this leaned over at an angle. If this thing was straight up and down, there's no way I could have just put that in there with a spring in it. So just, you might be better off to put it all in as a unit. Just set it down in there that way. As you're going to run your pin, it's going to go in like this. And once you get it in through the trigger, you're going to have to push this disconnector down against that little spring, that coil spring. Once you've got it pushed down, it'll fit on in there. Get it to go into its home. There we go. Get everything in there just right, and you'll get that pin to push all the way through to here. Now the shepherd's hook, the bane of my existence, will feed through underneath the hammer pin. I like to feed it through the magazine well. It will feed underneath the trigger pin. Once you have it there, you should be able to guide it up over the hammer pin. But the catch is, it has to go in between the receiver and the locking feature on that pin, or on both of those pins. And that's where you get into the funky stuff. Make sure the pin's all the way in there. And I'm sure that there is a better way of messing with these stupid shepherd's hook pins or clips. I don't know it. I hate messing with them. Only a damn Russian could have invented this. And another thing you run into with these is you get a lot of them to where they're actually converted from a full auto variant, which makes them even more cantankerous because they're not even as was intended. I'll be back. Got it in there. Sorry I had to let go. It's just one of those deals that you just have to take your time and be patient. You unhook those springs and you're going to hook on either side of your trigger right there. Let me see if I can get around here so you see. And on that shepherd's hook, don't pay too much attention to what I was doing there because there's so many variants out there. There's no way to know exactly which one you have and all that stuff. But either way, it's a good idea to go ahead, make sure that your trigger is catching. You want, anytime you test a trigger, what you want to do, watch my thumb here, this will be me operating the trigger. You pull the trigger, alright, the hammer comes back and is cocked, okay? We're going to pull the trigger again and release that hammer. Bam, there it goes. Now I'm holding that trigger down, okay? Without relieving the pressure on the trigger, push that hammer back again. And then let go. Make sure the hammer is caught by your trigger system. Alright, it is. Now, something you can do to check and see if you're going to get kicked is you still could get kicked, but with the trigger all the way down, you take that hammer and you cock it. And if it doesn't kick your thumb, there's a good chance that you have eliminated the trigger slap. Once you get everything going at speed, that may change, but it's a good possibility that you've eliminated the trigger slap. You don't know, won't know until you just try it out. A lot of things, and forgive me here, I'm going to try and do this with it on an angle like this. Complicates things a little. There we go. Sorry, I didn't realize I was zoomed in like that. There we go. All right. There's that. Hopefully that will have solved the problem. We won't know until we go and test it out and shoot it some. But doing that and holding the trigger down, it does not kick my finger at all. Whereas before it did. So, good chance that that solved our problem. So now that the gun is fixed, even though I'm not going to go shoot this gun right now, safety's on, gun is charged, and it is ready. I'm a big believer in making sure that I have my guns charged and ready to go. Just because I have a gun doesn't mean that it's always going to be charged and ready to go, but you can guarantee that a gun such as this that I could use effectively to defend myself, it's always ready to go. I'll tell you another gun that is a favorite of mine for self-defense. This gun is, in my opinion, the perfect self-defense gun. That's my 30-30 Winchester, lever action. Love it. It is short overall. It's super lightweight, decent magazine capacity, got a 7+1, and I can put some heat in there. Some of the Corbine loadings and some of the, the Hornady stuff, this new stuff that's come out for the lever action, man, you talk about a showstopper. It's a lot of power, and I just like it. Very, very easy to maneuver. Good gun. something to think about if you do have lever action. But if you do, make sure that you can run that thing. If you're going to try and use lever action for defense, you get out there, you get to the range, and you make sure that you can run that lever action. You should be able to fire that thing without having, I don't have it out here, but whenever you're up on target and you fire, I'm left-handed, but right-handed is the same thing. You should be able to run that lever, pow, pow. You shouldn't have to bring it down to here, rack it, and then come back up on the target. You should train yourself, if you're going to use a lever action like that, to where you can control that thing from the shoulder. You need to be able to run it from any way, but that's a big thing. Doesn't do any good if you can fire it fast like that if you can't fire it accurately. So get to the range and practice with it. Try it out, see what you can do with it. And by running it quickly like that, you're going to also find out if your gun's reliable or not. You know, the earlier ones, well, they're old, but they're built good. The newer ones, they're newer, but they're not built as good. Marlins. Usually they're all right, but still, you don't know how that gun's going to run until you try and run it hard. So, thanks for watching. Appreciate it, and stay safe.